Welcome back to the channel. Today we are digging into something I've been calling the missing algorithm, the idea that the future of artificial intelligence actually depends on frameworks that library and information science has been refining for over a century. If you've been following the AI conversation, you've probably noticed engineers and computer scientists rediscovering problems around trust, provenance, and discovery that librarians solved decades ago. In this lecture, we'll look at where AI adoption stands right now, where it's quietly causing damage, and where library science offers a ready-made foundation, not a footnote, but the missing algorithm itself. I'm Sukhdev Singh, and this is part of my ongoing series exploring AI's intersection with library and information science for practitioners. Let's get into it. So let's start with a tension I see constantly in our field. On one side, you've got viral, avoiding AI workshops, and honestly, they're tapping into something real. People genuinely want algorithmic transparency, they care about privacy, and many want the simple option of a digital detox. That's valid. But on the other side, look at what's actually happening. Millions of students, researchers, and creators are actively choosing AI every single day because it gives them faster learning, clearer writing, and automation of repetitive tasks they'd rather not do by hand. Here's the thing, our job isn't to pick a side in this debate. The goal isn't to win an argument about whether AI is good or bad. The goal is genuine agency. Technology works best when it respects user choice, offering clear guidance for those who want it, and the absolute freedom to turn it off completely for those who don't. Now here's a data point that should matter a lot to anyone running a library service. Follow this chain. A user has a question, they turn to generative AI, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, take your pick, and increasingly, these tools respond with direct citations to academic sources. What happens next is the interesting part. Referrals from generative AI to academic library platforms have grown steadily over the past few years. In other words, when AI tools give users a direct citation, those users are far more likely to actually go verify the research at the library resource itself. This isn't AI replacing libraries, it's AI functioning as a referral engine into library infrastructure. That finding comes from a 2023 to 2025 academic web traffic study. It's a signal worth remembering as we talk about libraries losing relevance. The data suggests the opposite, at least for verification behavior. But it's not all good news, and I want to be honest about that. There's a quieter, more troubling story unfolding alongside AI adoption, one about innovation erasing shared history. AI companies have been buying physical books by the truckload, cutting off the bindings, feeding every page through high-speed scanners to produce what they call slop-free training data, and then discarding what's left. Think about what that actually means. A digital scan preserves the text. It does not preserve the object. We are losing marginalia, handwritten notes from previous readers, we are losing craftsmanship, binding history, the physical evidence of how a book moved through the world. So the question I want to leave you with here is uncomfortable but necessary. Does technological progress genuinely require the destruction of our literary heritage? I don't think it has to, but right now, that's exactly what's happening at scale. This next slide gets at a term you are going to hear more and more, retrieval collapse. Here's how it builds, step by step. First, AI-generated content starts dominating search results, which erodes source diversity, fewer genuinely distinct voices showing up. Second, that low-quality content starts infiltrating the very systems used to train and evaluate future AI, garbage in, garbage out, except now at internet scale. And the result of those two steps compounding is what researchers are calling retrieval collapse. The growing invisibility of sources in AI-generated answers is causing a fundamental deskilling of searching and evaluation. People are simply losing the ability to trace where information actually came from. This concept was formally defined at the ACM Web Conference in Dubai back in April 2026. And as we'll see in the next slide, this new problem is actually one our profession has already solved. And here's where it gets genuinely exciting for those of us in library and information science. Look at this table. On the left, you've got computer science presenting these as brand new discoveries, source diversity metrics from the ACM Web Conference, provenance graphs from CHIRE 2026, human-assisted retrieval, completeness in automated search. On the right, you've got what LIS has called these things for decades: controlled vocabulary, authority files, the reference interview, systematic review methodology. Same ideas, different vocabulary. The profession that solved retrieval collapse before it even had a name is best placed to solve it now that it does. We don't need to invent new theory here. We need to translate the work of Shyali Ramamrita Ranganathan, yes, the father of library science in India, into the language computer science speaks today. That's the opportunity sitting in front of us. Let's talk about what I call the optimization trap. Picture two shapes side by side. AI search is a funnel. It optimizes purely for relevance, delivers exactly what your query predicted it would want, and closes off everything else along the way. Library design, by contrast, looks more like a star, a network of connections optimized for serendipity, built on the principle that the unexpected encounter has real value. And here's the example I love to use to make this concrete. Alexander Fleming was not looking for penicillin. He was looking at a contaminated petri dish. That accidental, unplanned observation changed medicine forever. If our information systems only ever deliver what we already asked for, we lose exactly that kind of discovery. This idea was central to the CHIRE 2026 workshop on generative AI and open-ended exploratory browsing, and it's a design principle libraries have understood all along. Now let's put some numbers behind the human-in-the-loop argument, because this is where the evidence gets hard to ignore. A fully automated AI approach to literature retrieval retrieves fewer than 30% of the actually relevant papers. Compare that to a semi-automated approach, trained human plus AI working together, which retrieves more than 80% of relevant papers, while also correctly excluding 92% of irrelevant material. Read that again: more than 80% relevant, 92% of the noise filtered out. That's not a marginal improvement, that's a completely different quality of outcome. As researcher Birger Hjelland put it in Justice in 2026, AI cannot replace trained human searchers, it actually requires them to function effectively. That single sentence should be reassuring to every librarian wondering where they fit into this AI-driven future. This next slide comes straight from our own community, and honestly, it's a little sobering. In an AI4Lib community poll from August 2026, we asked library professionals across South Asia how they actually access AI tools for their work. 58% said they have no access to paid LLMs at all. 29% are paying for it personally, out of their own pocket. 13% have some kind of hybrid access. And the number that should concern every library administrator watching this, 0%, none, reported library or institution-provided subscriptions. If AI is becoming essential for cataloging, reference services, and research support, access simply cannot depend on an individual's personal willingness to pay. Institutional AI tools need to become part of the standard digital resource portfolio, the same way we treat database subscriptions today, or we are going to bake real inequality into the profession. So what does responsible AI integration actually look like in practice? Let's look at case studies from national libraries across Europe, the UK, and the US, drawing on work by Mergel and Schmidt. 3 things stand out consistently. First, cataloging at scale, automating document classification and metadata creation to make genuinely vast collections discoverable in ways that would be impossible manually. Second, cultural preservation, digitizing historical archives specifically to improve public access, not just to create backups. And third, and this is the part one want to emphasize, human validation, librarians remaining absolutely central to validate AI outputs for quality, for fairness, for regulatory compliance, and for trust. These national libraries aren't handing over the keys to AI. They're using it as a force multiplier while keeping human judgment firmly in the loop. I want to introduce a term here that I think captures where our profession is headed, the Catapreneur. This comes from Dr. Ugochi Kaiyoman Nwankwo Ekenna's conceptual framework, and it describes a metadata strategist, a knowledge innovator, an information architect, a digital consultant, and a value creator, all operating together in what's being called the fifth industrial era. Notice what this term marks, it's not a small shift. It's the evolution of our profession from traditional, rule-following record creation to strategic, AI-assisted problem-solving. The cataloger of 10 years ago followed rules. The Catapreneur of today makes strategic calls, working alongside AI rather than simply executing a fixed procedure. If you are a practicing librarian wondering how your role is changing, this word is a good place to anchor that thinking. Let's break this Catapreneur idea down into a practical framework, 4 competencies, arranged as a quadrant. Knowledge organization sits as the foundational competency, one that's genuinely relevant across emerging tech sectors, not just libraries. Emotional intelligence keeps operations human-centered, resilient, and ethical, something AI simply cannot supply on its own. Entrepreneurship focuses on real-world problem-solving and continuous value creation, pushing us beyond passive service delivery. And finally, AI collaboration, exercising indispensable human judgment specifically in AI-assisted cataloging and digital repository work. Notice that AI collaboration is only one quadrant out of 4. It's essential, but it's not the whole picture. The other 3, organization, emotional intelligence, entrepreneurship, are exactly the competencies LIS education has always claimed to build. We are not starting from zero here. So if that's the target profile, our education system has to change to actually produce it. 3 shifts need to happen. First, from fear-based, rule-following environments to supportive, confidence-building innovation, students need room to experiment, not just follow procedure. Second, from outdated curricula and technological gaps to real-world AI integration and project-based learning, theory alone won't cut it anymore. And third, from library-confined roles to global knowledge competencies that apply across tech, research, and corporate sectors. Here's the line I keep coming back to when I talk to fellow educators: the greatest risk is not AI itself, but failing to prepare the curriculum for change. If our students graduate without hands-on AI fluency, we've failed them, regardless of how well we've covered classification theory or cataloging rules. Let's bring this all together with one picture. On one side, you have AI capabilities, scale, automation, high-speed ingestion, pattern recognition. Genuinely powerful things AI does better than any human ever could. On the other side, you have LIS frameworks, provenance, serendipitous discovery, curation, preservation, and human judgment. Things our profession has refined over more than a century. Neither circle, on its own, gets us where we need to go. But look at the overlap. That intersection is where a sustainable, trustworthy, and equitable knowledge infrastructure actually lives. One that optimizes for both relevance and discovery, not one at the expense of the other. That overlap isn't hypothetical. It's the space we are already working in, whether we've named it yet or not. So let me leave you with the reframe I think our whole profession needs right now. The question is no longer whether libraries will survive AI. The question is whether AI can survive without librarians. Given everything we've covered today, provenance, human-in-the-loop retrieval, serendipity, trust, I'd argue the answer leans pretty clearly in our favor. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, I'd love for you to join the conversation over on the AI4Lib WhatsApp community, where library professionals across South Asia are working through exactly these questions together. Hit subscribe for more on AI and library science, drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.